This past weekend we had Code Red, an Alabama monthly, where a lot of the top talent, like Murph, number one in the state, Sem, who's been putting out work in majors, Moppin, who's also really good, Kip, a lot of great players showed out. And it was just a crazy tournament. Like a lot of great players showed that they can do what they can. We had people who don't really play often, we don't really see a lot in the Alabama scene show up. And I think there are some players who aren't on the PR that need to be discussed a little bit more because they're just really good up and comers that I think people should look out for. So first we got DBfusion. Now DBfusion beat Deedles, a really good Isabel, and Physique, who's HM on the Alabama PR, and lost to Murph and Strife. He lost to Double Crom, but even though he did, getting ninth at a tournament this big and this stacked is just incredible, especially with Ridley and Ridley has to deal with so many combo characters in the Alabama state, and he just showed that you can put in the work if you just play neutral well, play neutral smart, wait in the right spots. His patience is really, really strong, and I don't think enough people give him credit for that, especially since he's playing Ridley and doesn't want to get hit like stupidly. So I'm really proud to see DBfusion improving. He's done really well in the last two events, and I hope he keeps it up. He could probably get PR if he keeps it up well. All right, next up we have Zero. Now Zero is crazy with Nest. He has just a really good solid understanding of how to use Nest PK Fire off platform to bait people to do what he wants to do. And this at Code Red, he did amazing. He beat Nixon, he beat Camerific, who's number 7 on the PR, he beat Bruce. He's beaten a lot of good people before, but I think this tournament showed to me that he is PR level and he's going to show it. If he goes to enough events, I think he will just make PR. But even if he doesn't, I think everyone understands that Zero is a threat in bracket. I'm just so happy to see Zero doing well. He's been playing Nets for a long while, and even though we don't have PUD around as much, I say we, but even though the Alabama scene doesn't have PUD around as much because PUD plays less and he uses the premier Nest for Smash 4 and a lot of Ultimate, I think Zero is filling in those shoes very, very well, so I'm happy to see that. Next up we have Deedles. Now this was the first tournament I actually got to see Deedles play, and Deedles did drop into losers early to DBfusion, but still did get top 8 with Isabel. Not a very popular character, usually considered a pretty bad character, but Deedles plays this character amazingly, beating Mexican Goku, Demento, and showing that Isabel can be very scary if you don't know what to do, and even if you do know what to do, you have to be very fast in your reactions and be willing to hit through a lot of moves. But Deedles put in the work. I've been always told by the Tuscaloosa players that Deedles is really, really good, but after seeing it this tournament, I'm definitely a Deedles fan because Deedles is super, super sick. I usually never thought that Isabel could be hyped, but Deedles really, really showed it. So I'm excited to see what Deedles can do for the rest of the season. I think Deedles might be one of the most slept on people because he's not around in the online presence that much, and you don't really see what he can do at a lot of tournaments that aren't Tuscaloosa because he doesn't travel that often. But if he does, I'm really excited to see what he can do. All right, and finally we're going to talk about Strife. Now Strife had an amazing Code Red run. He lost to Kip in winners after beating Humbar, who's a really good snake. Then he went on to beat Bruce, he went on to beat Nair, went on to beat DBfusion, went on to beat Deedles, and then losing to Seven losers. But beating those many matchups that I thought no one knew how to deal with, and beating them with Crom is amazing. I'm happy to see that he played well this tournament. I hope that he keeps on doing it because I know he's been working really hard to get on PR. With this as a start, this start is just incredible. So even if he did lose to Kip and Sim, he has beaten a lot of good players to show that he can get good results, and I'm excited to see the rest. Alright, and we can't have a video like this without talking about Murph versus Sim in Grand Finals. This was an amazing Grand Finals. Dr. Mario versus Crom. Really smart neutral play. Sim is like a brick wall when it comes to neutral play. He makes it very hard to approach him. He feels like you can just hit Doc and hit him off stage and that's it, but Sim makes it so you have to really think about your decision making, and if you don't, then you're going to die. And I think it's incredible to watch. It's incredible to watch him play Doc, but Murph winning the whole tournament with Crom, showing everybody that he is number 1 in the state, no questions asked, is just great to see. This is the first big tournament in a long time for Alabama, and this was definitely showing to everyone that there's going to be some competition now, because even if Sem doesn't go and show up because he has to travel a far distance, even though he won't go to as many tournaments. Murph's the guy to beat. It's not going to be just because I always thought that people expected to be really close between Murph's, Kip, and Moppin, and it feels like there are a lot of back and forth between who takes what set. But with Murph winning this tournament, he has a gigantic head start to be number one for next season. And lots of people are going to have to learn how to fight Murph's amazing pressure, his smart decision making. It's so suffocating to fight Murph that I think that a lot of people aren't ready for it. But when they are going to have to face him, it's going to be a real good time. Now, this video is mostly talking about the PR people who aren't, or the PR contenders that aren't on PR currently, that were shown in Code Red, that I think that people should look out for, at majors, and just that Alabama has a scene. Its tournament scene is thriving, and they're getting better and better. Even though we have, the precautions we have to watch out for due to the virus, I think that when you go to Alabama, these are the players you got to watch out for. They're the up-and-comers, not just the PR players, but the ones past that. But even past all of that, Murph is the best player in the state, and it shows.